Yeah, we are live. Hello, 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 awesome ones. It is Thursday. Almost forgot what day of the week it was. How can I forget what day of the week it was? It's been a little while since Kitty and I have played. At least it feels like that we have played. Come here. Has it been a little while for you, Kitty?
I think it's been a little over a week. I was trying to think the last time we did this, I think I was up at my cabin. So, but I'm not 100% sure. I've been making it the last day of September all day today. So even though it isn't the last day of September, it just, the energy, Joanne, since last Thursday when Mercury retrograded back into Virgo has been so many little things all around just going, going, going. And um, boy, even for a lot of people, this retrograde season, which now starts to make its turn,
Yes, yes,
um, starting pretty quickly, has been just wild things coming up, including hurricanes.
exactly. So before we dive into our major fun conversation, just shouting out to those who are watching on YouTube because we're live there. And if you are watching on YouTube, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up and also subscribe if you have not already. That would be greatly appreciated. And then we're going to hop over to my Twitter page just to see if we are there. As we're doing that, let me just see. There we go. No, that's not it. That's not it. Where the heck is it? I wish Twitter just like, opened up at the actual beginning of the page and that I didn't have to stroll like. Here we go. There we go. Very nice. Perfect. So for those who will be watching on Twitter, please feel free to put your comments. And we're going to land on the actual page of Facebook where most people will be chiming in, sharing their comments and whatever have you. So Kitty and I come together as usual to play because I like to call this play. When her and I get together, we do play. We have a lot of fun. But upon playing, we also like to share insight. And for those of you who didn't catch this at the very minute that we started, there is a lot of energy that is flowing between those who are living in Florida, the hurricane that is taking place, and then, of course, with our planets. There's a lot going on, and there will be a lot going on. We are getting ready. The planets are getting ready to start to go forward again. Now, make note that the planets always go forward. Just the energy of the planets sort of slow down to give us some time to reflect on this thing called life. So, Kitty, let's talk about these planets that's going forward over the next week and a half, the first like week and a half of October. We got a lot of action going on.
Yeah, we really do. I think I've said in the last couple times we've been together, I keep seeing October's expand and kind of surround the whole month. Um, we are getting ready in this kind of shadow of, we still have one yet to go retrograde, but it's not till the end of this month, the October month. But it's a big one and it's already in the energy it will retrograde back over. And I was thinking about that. And as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, oh my word, I'm going to get to go back over these past 5 days. Oh,
Do we
oh,
really want to?
you know, are there things I really want to visit? So, last Thursday we had Mercury, which is retrograde, go back into Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
And um, Mercury goes direct on the 3rd of October, and then it goes back into Libra. Uh, I looked this all up today on so it goes actually
October
direct
11th.
on the 2nd of October,
Yeah, it goes back
and
into
it goes back
Libra.
into Libra on the 10th.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have Pluto coming back direct. Pluto has been in retrograde for quite a long time. And it comes back direct, still in its Capricorn, on the 8th of October. And then right behind it, on the 9th of October, of course, is the full moon. And then we have, like I said, Mercury going into Libra on the 10th. So this first couple of weeks, it was interesting because I had done a vibe of the week and talked about there's a lot of things in and to focus on the calm. Well, then we received a message from a good friend of ours, Joe, shout out to Joe, that he had watched another astrologer talk about that. And I have been hearing that because I think it's been so. The good news is today, Venus left her kind of nitpicky energy and she moved into where she's very comfortable in Libra. So all of this kind of nitpicky little pieces of things, all of these things we've been revisiting with all of this history in retrograde coming back for many, many of us is giving us a chance to really look at the calm. And again, we talked about this for September. September was very important to look where you've been. And in this last 5 days, it's pretty much been like a memory tape for people of things showing up. You know, I know you, Joanne, have been looking at 20 years this whole month of memories and things that you've been doing. And so this little microcosm up until today in this last week was really kind of underscoring this first 2 weeks of October. And this first, what is the vibrational number for the month of October?
It's funny you should ask that question. I'm actually in the midst of looking for my pen. I always have a pen on my table, and for the life of me, I'm like, where the hell did my pen go? I was only using it a few minutes ago. Where did it disappear to? But let me answer that question by searching for an answer. So give me a second. It's really great to be very organized.
But you know, I mean, yes, it is. And I mean, we started with a new moon on Saturday. This last 5 or 6 days, especially from this Thursday until today, this 1 week period, has been a huge shift in energies, in taking those pieces now and finding the balance. Really is about focusing in to the calm and where you've been, and now kind of looking forward to, these are my lessons. I'm really quite aware of them. Onward I go. So I'm really curious about the number of October.
Yeah. So when we think about October in itself, because it is the 10th month, 10th month of the year, and you add 2022 to this number, which 2022 was a 6, and then you got that 1, so you get a 7. And I always say when a specific number mirrors the energy we're about to come to in the new year. So October gives us an opportunity to have a little sample of what 2023 is going to be like. For the next 31 days, as we move into October, we're going to have a sample of the energy of 2023. And what that just means is 2023 carries a 7 vibration, which is what October carries based on the actual universal energy, adding the month to it. 7 in numerology is all about taking time to quiet down, to reflect, to connect within. So whatever it is that you're looking for answers about, it's not about going and having a conversation with somebody. It's really about checking in, or for that matter, checking in on your cards and asking your cards, what is it that I need to, what steps can I take now? Not so much about what do I need to know now, but what steps can I take now to help me move forward? So that going within, that spiritual awakening that we're all going to experience as we move into 2023. If you have not, and when I say you, meaning all of us, if we have not experienced a wake up just yet, 2023 is going to help every one of us wake up into a newer vibration. Now, I also pulled out one of my books, Healing with Numbers. And what I like to do here is actually give you the vibration of October's the letters in October, the vibration of those letters, and what that energy is all about. And interesting, and I think it's the only month out of the entire year. I just want to double check this just to make sure that I am correct here. There are actually 2 months out of the entire year that carries a master number. One of those months are April, and the other one's October. April carries an 11 vibration based on its letters, and October, interesting enough, carries a 33 vibration based on its letters. Now, for those of you who are not aware of, in numerology, the number 33 as the master number, the energy of October carries the vibration of the master creator. What will you create? What will you sacrifice so you can create something? And when I hear the word sacrifice, when I say the word sacrifice, the first thing that comes to my mind is, what am I willing? And for me, this resonates really, really big for me, because it's like, what am I willing to literally let go of? And as Kitty just said before, I've been doing a lot of reminiscing, reflecting on the last 21 years. What am I ready to let go of so I can create something new? Because again, the reality is, for all of us, if we are all looking to move into a new path, whether it's a new home, new location, whatever it is, you don't want to take your baggage with you. Whatever you're carrying in your suitcase, whatever it is, whatever you're carrying in your mind, if it does not serve what it is you're ready to create going forward, it really is about sacrificing. What do I need to leave behind so I can move forward? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to shred so I can move forward? And that's the energy, the vibration that October carries when you take all the letters in October and add them up. It's a 33. So many of us are going to go through that process in October of like, what can we let go? What can we literally leave? And I'm going to use an example that one of my other colleagues actually used in one of her live videos this past week. We're literally looking at a stack of luggage, and the train is about to board. And you have the stack of luggage, and you literally have, like, let's say, whatever amount of time they give you to get onto the train. So you have to make that decision very quickly. It's not a matter that you're going to have 31 days to make this decision, so to speak. But you got to make this decision very quickly. What luggage am I leaving on the track, and what luggage am I taking with me? And that's the factor of this October's vibration. What are you willing to sacrifice so you can have a change, so you can create a change?
You know, it was funny you should say that, because today I was talking with my friend about a question that, when I have friends that are in having life altering things going on, or hard periods in time, one of the things that I will ask them, and I ask myself this when I'm having, I happen to be in one of those periods right now, is the question is, what am I willing to do to help myself today? What am I willing to do to let go and help myself today? And of course, if you happen to be a person who comes from a Christian background, 33 is the Jesus vibration. It is the ascended masters. It is that Piscean, and the denser version of Pisces is suffering about letting go and sacrifice, versus the rise. And so the expanded. And so, like I said, I keep seeing October, and the O expands. And there's just so many pieces coming forth as we go into this Mars retrograde. And I keep talking about it because it is an unusual, first of all, it doesn't happen. It's more than 2 years. It's the only planet that does not retrograde in, most of them are within a year, at least once. Some go as long as 15 months, but this one's 25 to 26 months. Mars, a personal planet, your will, is a daily energy. But this time in Gemini being this duality, the duality that we live in, the twin energy, wanting the experiences, but also wanting the learning of it. It's in it for 7 months. Incredibly long period of time, just by the way it lined up this time, for this retrograde. It's
Yes.
in Gemini, excuse me, right now, but it does not retrograde till the end of the month. And then that's going to stay all the way till March.
Yes, yes. And
So
interesting, it retrogrades the day before Halloween.
the day before Halloween.
Yes, so I
And
find that, yes.
And slowly all of these other planets are coming out, and you've brought this internal energy, and here comes will. Here comes your will going retrograde inside. And what have you learned? How are you going to use this? So perfectly lining up, of course, with this 33 vibration. And, that's why I think the focus is calm, is where am I? Look at what I've been able to do. And if there's more I want to do, not as in beating myself up, but just keep the focus going. What am I willing to do to help myself today?
Yes, yes. And when we think about not just the vibration of October being the 33, but also the energy of today, where Venus has just moved into Libra's energy. Today's the 29th. And in numerology, the number 29, any number in numerology besides our master numbers, gets added up to a single digit. And when you take 2 and 9 and add it up, you get an 11. So now we're going to leave that 11 just as is because it's a master number. So when we think of 11 as the master number, it's the master healer, where 33 is the master creator, master sacrificer. 11 is the master healer, the healer that heals relationships, one that heals relationships. And it's so interesting that Venus went into Libra today.
Mm-hmm.
Venus is all about relationships, and Libra is about bringing that balance into
right.
our
And Venus lives in Venus rules the house that is Libra, in that 7th house. And of course 7 is also that divine number of, and so there is something that's very divine in this period of time as we go. I think that's what the calm is. This isn't about, Venus has been kind of in this wanting you to see the beauty, but wanting you to see the beauty in all of the subtleties and where you've been. And even as things around you are a little crazy, which I volunteer for at the moment, um, it is now in this relationship to it. What is my relationship with even the chaos? What am I doing? Where is my calm? Libra wants us to balance it. And it wants us to balance with justice, not necessarily just to balance to be balanced, like I go along to get along. Nope. It wants it to be who we are. It's a real call for our authenticness, and this month, very interestingly enough, we have an opportunity in this balance, though it is in the time of when the sun has moved into Scorpio at the end of this month, where our Jupiter, which is in this new 12-year cycle we started this year, because it's retrograde, goes back and visits the lessons of the last 12 years. It wants to bring it back forward, and it will now go direct again to pull it into its next, because it will go direct. And meanwhile, we've got Mars. Come on. It feels like it's a very deep precipice, but it's a very short step. But if we find ourselves looking at the big deepness of it versus it's just a step over a very small opening. But yeah, and you've got, like you said, today is a big turning point for that. I could feel it this morning.
Yeah. And when you think of the overall date, where you take the 9 from September, 29 at 11, and then you added that 2022, we get a 17, which adds up to an 8. So let's talk about how, again, that Venus and Libra bringing balance. It also brings harmony. It brings a sense of giving us an opportunity, because Venus is also about our relationship with money as well. So it's giving us an opportunity to reflect on what have we achieved in this time frame where these planets have been retrograde. What have we achieved? What are our accomplishments? Where do we see ourselves being successful? In giving us that opportunity to reflect. And when we think of that eight energy based on astrology, it's associated with the eighth house, which is Scorpio. And Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and Pluto is one of our planets that's going to go direct. And I am just so excited and intrigued to see once Pluto goes direct, because Pluto is our planet of, as I like to call it, demolition, destroying what no longer serves each and every one of us. And I'm really excited to see how once Pluto starts to go forward, the energy of it anyway, how that's really going to unfold for all of us. Like what differences are we going to start to see? The shifts, the changes that so many of us are experiencing. Some of us are actually in it right now, such as I am, and there's so many other people who are still in that process where it hasn't quite unfolded just yet. It's almost like, okay, it's coming, but it's not there yet. And I'm really interested to see once Pluto does go direct, how everything's going to start to land and what really is going to fall away.
Well, and the traditional ruler before Pluto was discovered, made a planet and downgraded, but that's all right, was Mars. And Mars is about those starts. And here we've got this Mars backing up in this Gemini energy to go, Meanwhile, we're in a new 12-year cycle in this Aries energy, which is all related to Mars. So there's a lot of crossing about startings, pulling apart. And I think that that's why the focus of being calm and being that ability to detach and be an observer.
Yes.
Allows us to head on the next step. Allows us to receive the next step.
Exactly. I was listening to was it a TikTok? I think it was a TikTok. And a gentleman, and I had to write it down because I found it to be so mind-blowing for me. The gentleman was talking about purpose and passion. And what he said, and I'm gonna actually say it exactly how he said it, which is passion is what you love to do. Purpose is what you were born to do. And when we think about our purpose, because again, that eight energy, that eighth house is about recognizing what we came here to accomplish and then let go and just success in itself. And when we think about our purpose, and so many people get a little confused about, well, it's my soul's purpose. So why do we have all these conflicts that come into play with our soul's purpose? And what it really is that the soul's purpose is not about being problem free, because our soul's purpose is to solve the problems. So we learn our lessons. It's a part of it. So when we are going through challenges or problems or whatever one might want to call it, those problems show up so we can figure it out. It's like a math problem. We got to figure it out. We got to find a solution. So then we have that lesson that we get to move through with our purpose. And when he said that, it was just like, oh, that so makes sense in regards to everyone's soul's purpose. Because I know for me, it's one of those things where, well, if it's the purpose, then it should just flow easily. But then it now makes a lot of sense where no, problems are going to come in, challenges are going to come in that serves the purpose to getting us to where we have to go. In having this opportunity to reflect. And with Kitty, just mentioning about how once Jupiter goes direct, now does Jupiter go back into Pisces before it goes direct or after it goes direct?
It goes back into Pisces before it goes back to being direct.
And how long does it stay in Pisces until it goes back?
I knew you were going to ask me that, which means I have to go. Oh, that lovely noise you hear is my dog at the end of the jingling. I guess he wants us all to pay attention to this point, right?
Yes.
Because I'm looking it up on my chart. There are actually, for those people, there are charts. So when is Jupiter direct? I want to say it's November.
Oh, I have
Yes, it
that.
is. Good
Yeah,
girl, Kitty. It goes direct on the 24th of November.
Yes, that I have. Yes. Now, in
So
reference to you, and when it dips back into Pisces, is what date?
it goes back on the what did I say? The 28th of this month.
Okay,
of
so
October.
it'll be
See,
in Pisces
I'm
for
already
about a month.
making this the next month. I've been doing that all day. I have a focus on the next month.
You
I've
just
made
want
it.
to be in October. That's all it is.
Pardon?
You want to just be in October.
Well, I keep seeing it expanding. So that means it will be next year that Jupiter crosses back into its 12-year cycle. So it's going to have quite a bit of time to go back, take that end of that Pisces 12-year cycle that it's been in, and now it's on this new Aries for this next period of time. It's a whole new 12-year cycle.
Yes. So just to recap for me. So once Jupiter dips back into Pisces, it will stay in Pisces until November 23rd of 2022. Yes?
Right.
And then it goes back into Aries.
Then it will turn again, go back over. So this piece of where Jupiter has traveled gets gone over 3 times. The end of that 12-year cycle, we go back over the end of that 12-year cycle, and then we come back forward over it to once again bring it into this new cycle that it had entered in May, I think it was May or April.
Yeah.
So, and so, and I think that's why September's message was really, it's time to look back, see where you've been, because you have this whole new piece going. Meanwhile, just for fun this month, we also have eclipses. So, I mean, this is astrologically a busy month, but it's also more importantly, this major retrograde that especially in this last week, I had another friend who's a good friend of theirs fell. I mean, there's just been a lot of, if it isn't physical, it's emotional or it's big changes, and as I watched Hurricane Ian, because of course that having half a year of my life in Florida, and it was actually kind of beelining for where I was living.
Mm-hmm.
It did turn. It was what is, there's just a whole lot of different pieces. And I happen to be in a period of my life, kind of like you, where I have a place to live and then I don't have a place to live, and so, and then I had an interim place and then it fell through. But then again, we had a big family emergency. So now that freedom, and this is how spirit works, may work to our advantage. We're not locked into one place to be. So we may come back to help out with some of that other family things, or maybe not. Maybe, who knows? But it really has definitely look back, where have I been, how remarkably I could feel the calm in this. It was like a preview. Just focus into that calm. What am I willing to do to take care of myself today? That is a big piece of staying in that calm. What am I willing to let go of, and that helps me take care of myself and helps my life move in the flow. What have I learned in this last 12 years that I'm bringing into this next 12 years? So
exactly. And when we think about, because we're still in September, even though Kitty wants to be in October,
I want to be in October.
We still have 2 days left of this 9 energy, which is about what more can you let go of? What more can you declutter? How can
it's funny you should say that, because I just heard, go look at tomorrow. I'm going to go look at tomorrow.
There you go. As she's looking at tomorrow, I'm just going to remind you again that, this is an opportunity. These last final days of September, these next literally less than 24 hours of September, is an opportunity to transition, transform, let go, leave behind what you no longer need, So as you do get ready to move into October, because again, October carries that one energy with a 0, which allows us to recognize the new beginnings, the new energy, the new ways of doing things. You don't have to continue doing what you were doing before. You could do something totally different. And this is an opportunity to ask yourself, what would I like to do differently as I move into October, as I get prepared with these next 3 months where we're in fall? How do I get myself prepared to move into 2023, where you want to move into 2023 lighter? After all, 2023 carries that 7 vibration. So you want to go in lighter. You want to go in, as I like to say, when we move into our spiritual journey, it's easy to go into your spiritual journey feeling lighter as opposed to having all that excess whatever holding you down. And
Well,
you
and
move into that space. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, and because we know this is 6, where do you go after you work on the healing? And of course, the healing is in that house of all of those small things we're letting go of, all of those systems, all of those, that's that 6th house energy.
Yes. That
And
is true.
and then moving into that 7th house, the relationship with the physical, the spiritual, the emotional. And it's interesting we should say that because tomorrow we have our moon right first thing this in the morning. We're in a Scorpio moon right now. But it moves to Sagittarius at 12, basically a minute after 12 tonight. And of course, that's about truth. So, what are the truths that you walked away with from this September as it was reviewed for you? And you have an opportunity to kind of activate that because we have Venus that just now has gone into Libra, sextiling that moon, that truth. So, what relationships and truths with myself? What relationships with the balance in my life, and in the background, that expansion energy that we've been talking about, that Jupiter is working with truth. So there's a lot of things that are bubbling up. I kind of see it as we're resetting some of our watches,
Yes.
some of the time we've been spending,
Yeah.
really been called to take a look at that, to get ready for whatever this expansion in October is, whatever that O is getting so much bigger for. Like you said, 33, that's a biggie number.
That is a biggie number. And
Mm-hmm.
it's that out of all the master numbers, 11, 22, 33, 33 is not a number that shows up a lot. I mean, I don't think, at least from my experience, I have not come across anyone that has a 33 personal energy year number. I've come across a handful of people who carry a 33 life path number, but a personal energy year number 33 doesn't show up. We get 11 and we get 22. So when we have the month of October, the letters in October carrying that vibration, this is really a perfect opportunity for us to sit back and say, what am I willing to sacrifice?
Mm-hmm.
So I can move forward without and the vision I just got, which is the funniest vision, without the chains on your feet.
Say that again?
The chains like chains on our ankles. That literally prevents us from moving. So we're literally gonna cut the chains from our ankles so we can walk freely. We're letting go of all the baggage. It's almost like, you know how when a child doesn't want their mother to go, they grab the mother's ankles and drag on them. Same vision. It's like, what are we willing to let go of so we can create?
What has been binding us? It's funny, when you first started to talk about that, what you saw, it was 33, 33.
Oh, look at that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
I as she was saying it, I looked over and it was 33, 33, and I watched it turn to 34. So it's very, and I think that's a great way to think of it. The shackles are coming off. What has been shackling us. That's why we look at where we've been and what it is that we're what
Yes.
other things we've let go of, and use that energy to move, but
Yes.
calmly. This is not a call to, and because there's enough chaos around us.
Oh yes, yes. And also too, when we think about this energy of the 33 of being able to sacrifice, it's also the energy I get from that is the freedom. How we're gaining more freedom because we are letting things go. You know,
Hmm.
as you said, Kitty, in reference that you have the freedom now. You're not just tied down to one place. That if you need to be someplace else, you can.
Yep.
You know, this the freedom. It's like, for example, today I had a 5:15 Zoom session, and I knew I had to be here at 7. So I was like, okay. I looked at the clock. And I'm like, well, I have an hour and a half to go do something, run an errand, or go by my studio and just stare at my empty room, you know. Or do I just sit here waiting around till that time to be on Zoom? And I said, well, I can obviously, as I usually do, take my phone for my Zoom session, so I'm not tied down to being in one spot. I can do my Zoom in my car. Who says I got to be in front of my orange wall to do my Zoom? I did need to be here for my StreamYard to be, in one spot because my phone and StreamYard doesn't work so well together. So the flexibility, the freedom that we get when we allow ourselves to let go and make those sacrifices. So I think that's a perfect energy, freedom, as we move into October, with the expansion of the zero, as Kitty keeps talking about, because there is expansion.
Yep.
When we have our freedom, we have expansion.
Well, the card I pulled again to begin with was that King and Queen, that balance, that number 2, that sacral chakra, which is the archetype. I've just learned some more about the archetypes of the chakras. It is the archetype of the lover, of love, of Venus, of sexuality, of creation. And then I just pulled another card to go with it, and it talks about the endings and completions. This is another deck I keep with me. It that's what it feels like, but it's not like I like more than endings, completions. This is about completing that letting go, completing the shackles are off, completing, the next piece of our journey, our freedom.
Yes, exactly. And since Kitty's pulling some cards, I think it's a great time to bring some of those cards in and see what cards show up, what messages we can provide everybody that will be watching later. So let's see what shows up. The card I just received, Rebirth.
Yep.
Rebirth.
That makes so much sense.
It sure does.
Because in endings is a rebirth.
Exactly. And when we talk about 2 and 1, that's that 2 energy is right there associated with the first card that Kitty pulled, which is about the Queen and King, the balance, the partnerships, the Venus energy of our relationships. And that 1 is so perfectly aligned with new beginnings, and it's also perfectly aligned with where Jupiter is right now in Aries, where it's all about self. How are we expanding into this new idea of our rebirth? And the chakra here is the high heart. So this is when we speak of rebirth, and I'm going to base this on my own experience right now, where the transformation that I'm going through, what I'm letting go of, what I've literally had to sacrifice to say, okay, well, I need to let this go because time is of the essence. But yet it's a bittersweet situation. So I also need to be with that pain, is be compassionate with myself, recognize that I have to be compassionate. I have to be gentle with me right now because of the emotions that I'm experiencing. Where I had a friend text me earlier today, and she says to me, she looked at the date and she goes, "Oh my God, tomorrow's the 30th. Tomorrow's the big day for Joanne." So she texted me wanting to know how I was feeling with everything. And her text was something like, this is going to sound like a very weird question, And then she asked the questions on how am I feeling with everything's happening tomorrow. And I called her up and I'm like, you know what? I said, I'm feeling pretty good today. And as we got to talking about it, all of a sudden I went from feeling pretty good today to like busting out in tears. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? I was feeling really good today until. So, yeah, showing compassion for self, being kind to yourself. And when you can do that for self, then you can extend it out to others as well. Because every one of us are going through a rebirth in one way or another. Something is changing for all of us. It's not just me that's going through this massive change. It's not just Kitty going through a massive change. We're all going through some sort of massive change. Even our little fur babies that I hear behind in
Yeah,
Kitty's.
that little fur baby that's ringing the bell while you're saying all of this.
Exactly. We're all going through some sort of rebirth right now. So this is just a reminder. And when we take that 2-in-1, we get 3, which is that Mercury energy that we have going on, where it's reminding us to allow time. Allow time. And when I use this statement, it means schedule time to sit quietly with yourself so you can reflect on the last 12 years. Reflect on it. Recognize all the things you've accomplished. Recognize all the things you've let go of. Recognize all that space. Like I was saying to Kitty, today I went and set up my space, and I was saying to my husband too, I was literally just sitting in my space where there's nothing there. I was just sitting in a room and looking at all the space. I'm like, wow, like only today's what, Thursday. So go back Monday. What's that? 4 days ago? Can't even add, and I'm talking numbers. 4 days ago, my space had a lot of stuff in it, and now it's just this open space. So allowing yourself to recognize what you've let go of, and recognize all that space. Now, ideally, it's not about filling that space back up. It's not about filling the space back up. It's allowing yourself to be free enough to let that space be open. So you don't have to fill it back up. You can just allow yourself to recognize there's a rebirth and something new is coming. And it may not take up as much space as what took up before. So you have that freedom, that flexibility to be able to move where you need to move without being chained down, because that seems to be what's in my head these days, chains.
It's so funny because for today, for me, this was the card I pulled.
Compassion. Yes.
And yeah, that you now have all that space, and you can also celebrate that you can fill it all up, but you have choices in what you fill it all up with.
Exactly.
That you move that. This Venus energy today is about grace and love and beauty, and in that is compassion. And so it I had a friend who wrote, she had a procedure done and she's still recovering from it, and she described how she was feeling. She was feeling all of these happy, sad, what you were talking about, as a layer peels away, all of a sudden, and she said, but yet I'm feeling all of them at a very calm level of feeling them, like, oh, okay, this is a new emotion, but I'm calm about it. Tear up, all those things, but it's not that feeling of, oh, I got to solve it. I mean, if everybody who's watching this right now, whether it's replay or right now, just close their eyes for a minute. Where were you 12 years ago? Just take a minute. Where were you 12 years ago? And then think, wow, what has changed?
It's so interesting you say that. And why I say that, 12 years ago, not exactly to the date, but 12 years ago, as I was saying to my husband today, as I was sitting in my space, I was like, I feel like I'm mourning my space, and I'm going through the transition of the farewell and getting ready to, sort of like put it in its grave. And 12 years ago, not exact, and like I said, not to the exact date, but 12 years ago is when my mom crossed over. So I think, it's that grieving of like letting something go. and being in that space where it doesn't have to necessarily be, sad, but it could be, and allowing yourself those bittersweet moments of whatever shows up, whatever transition you're experiencing, to allow it to show up. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I love the card that like sort of flew out the deck when I was shuffling, because again, we have Venus and Libra, financial abundance, and that definitely, why not call that in? I mean, if we have all this new space that's just open, rather than focusing on not having enough of it, hey, financial abundance. How about filling the entire room up with financial abundance?
Mm-hmm.
And you have the ability.
And that's the vibration of today, 8.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about the third eyes, you get to create what it is you wish to create by what you focus on, as the title. What you focus on is what you get to create. So you get to choose that 0 that's in that 10 energy, that October energy, the expansion, potential, and choices. You have a choice. You can choose between, I'm going to focus on financial abundance and however it's going to come in, because one of the things I've definitely learned is that as long as you surrender the need to control how things come in, it comes in. So rather than saying, well, financial abundance can only come in this way, be open to the fact financial abundance can come in anyway. So you're not just focused on it, well, it's only going to come in through this way, and not pay attention to like, well, it's interesting because I just got like X, whatever it is from here, but because I was expecting it from here, you don't count the other end. So
Mm-hmm.
be open to it showing up everywhere. Open to whatever way it comes in. And that 8 energy is like letting go of your old way of thinking about money. And money is just energy anyway. So I like that card popped in.
I do
For
too.
anyone that might be struggling with the mindset of like, oh my God, I don't have enough. I'll share really, it's not funny, but I always say it's funny. I love when people complain about not having enough money, and then they don't understand the process of when, like, I have a friend, he was talking to me about something regarding his business, something needed to be repaired, and it was a costly repair, but he's always talking about how he doesn't have enough money. So when things are flowing very nicely with his business, but because things are flowing very nicely with his business, he's always complaining about he just doesn't have enough. The universe steps in and causes things to come in where he's got to pay an unexpected bill, because he's always talking about not having enough money. So universe is like, okay, so because you don't think you have enough, an unexpected bill's going to show up, so you're going to have to put that money to there so you can confirm the fact that you don't have enough money. So my point of sharing that is to remind you, what it is you say is what you create. So
Right.
the best thing to do is just focus on financial abundance. You always have enough money. Always enough money. It always comes in as you need it. When you need it, it's there. And just stay focused on that. You have another card for us, Kitty?
I haven't. It's a hard shuffle because I'm holding the phone in one hand
Oh, yes, yeah.
because I'm down at the lake house, and it's getting cold in Maine. We are staying longer than normal because of my son's accident, and so it's interesting you say that about this gentleman, because um, abundance and prosperity are also in how you look at that things. Um, we at the moment we have I've had a friend for 43 years, and this is her parents' summer home, but it's winterized. And they've always been really very generous about letting us use it. Well, I received a lovely note, and even though my friend was in the middle of a hurricane, her mother wanted to make sure we understood that if we needed to come back in the winter because of the recovery, they're going to leave this open for us to use. And so there, the universe will provide. It just
Yes.
does.
Yes.
So the
Yes,
card I
sir.
just pulled with is, of course, change.
Ah, I
One
love
of
it.
our only constants in the world, change. And
Yes.
that's why that is the house of self. This is the house that rules Leo, the fifth house. This is the house of the sun, who we are. And it's about our roar, because look at the color. It's
Yes.
and which is that is the chakra that is the artist, but that's because it takes the heart and what we need to say with that high heart in the middle and is creative. But this is our constant change, and
Yes.
how we learn to deal with it and react with the universe is what we attract.
Yes. And I'm gonna do one more card because it flew out as Kitty was chatting, and it goes so perfectly with what Kitty just talked about because she talked about the heart and change. We get surrender. 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 The reality to this when we talk about change, surrender what it is you cannot control regarding change. Because so many of us want to control everything. Surrender. Let go and
And
allow
that's so
yourself.
important when you're letting go of those chains.
Yes,
Surrender, they fall off.
yes, yes.
Hmm.
And we got that 6-8, which is that 5. So it
Yes.
goes really well with the card that Kitty just showed, which is 5, change. And it's a full circle moment right now because that change is also associated with our freedom.
Our freedom and the rebirth that you pulled originally.
Yeah,
And if if we listen again to my September thing, I kept talking about it being the surrender project. Now, I
yes,
had no idea what my September was going to be, which became a huge surrender project.
yes,
Um, but it is. We were surrendering so we can see where we've been, so that we can get ready to go where that O is expanding to.
exactly. And when we think about just today's energy and the last couple of days with the hurricanes going on in Florida, the heart energy is allowing yourself to let go of your heaviness that you might be holding on to regarding what's going on in the world. All of this is about the changes that every one of us experience. So surrender
Hmm.
and just allow, trust, even though this sometimes could be a really, really hard pill to chew. Trust that whatever is going on in your life right now is exactly what's supposed to take place
Right.
right now.
And
You know,
that's where that compassion you talked about comes in, because these things are coming up. You will have fears, and
yes,
having so again, what are you willing to do
yes,
to
exactly.
let go of and to help yourself? Yep.
Exactly. And we are moving into a fabulous energy of October and the final 3 months of 2022. So make it a really good final 3 months. Embrace this energy, embrace whatever needs to fall off, embrace what's coming in. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others because we have absolutely no idea what someone else is going through in their life because not all of us are wearing it on our shirts. Not all of us are wearing it on our forehead saying, well, this is what's going on in my life right now. So please be kind to me. We don't
Right.
know what's going on in someone's life. If I didn't know Kitty, I would have absolutely no idea what's going on in her life. So whether we know what's going on in the person's life or not, kindness, it's a free thing. Be kind, be compassionate, and reach out to those people you do know what's going on in their life and just ask them, how are you? Do you need a minute to talk? Because sometimes that person may need a minute to talk and just let them do that. You don't have to give a solution because there is no solution. Allow them just to embrace what they need to say, be a really, really good listener, and that's it. You don't have to problem solve for them. It's not your job to problem solve for what's going on in their life. It's their
No.
lesson.
Well, and it's also what you pay forward. And we've been talking about that for the last couple months. What energy do you want to send forward?
Yeah.
You know, there have been I've had so many kind people, Joanne being one of them, reach out, and even sometimes when you can't answer, just to get the message in the middle of the crazy or the things that are going on, that says, how are you? And you think, oh, thank you. because that's also a reminder for me. How am I? Let me stop for a minute. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the way I look at it. I may not always be able to answer in this,
Yep.
but it's like there was my tap on the
Yes.
shoulder from spirit. How am I? Let me think for a minute. What am I willing in this moment?
Yes, yes. What are you
So,
willing? What can you let go of? What do you need to let go of as well?
right.
Because again, sometimes, as Kitty knows, I mean, if anyone has firsthand experience in this right now, Kitty knows. I mean, sometimes it's part of a person's lesson, and there's
hmm
absolutely nothing you can do. Even if you could do, there's absolutely nothing you can do because
Well,
it's
and even in their lesson, because they are connected to you, comes your lesson. So even as Joanne closes the studio and starts her new, there's a lesson for her husband. There's a lesson for her daughter. A beautiful lesson for her one sister that stepped up for her.
yes,
Just it. And if you can look at that, we have a couple extra challenges beyond a situation that's challenging. And I've been saying to myself, so there's a lesson in this for me.
yes, oh yes, yes, for
So,
everyone. In fact, I was having a conversation with my daughter just before we came on this live, and I haven't seen her this week because, theoretically, the only time I would see my daughter is when she would come and work out. So I haven't seen her. And I called her today and I asked her, I said, so, where are you working out now? And she's like, oh, I joined the gym and I just have to get used to, because, when she worked out in my studio, she worked out by herself. There was no other person there besides her. And maybe I was there, just sitting on the couch, waiting for my next client. Now she has to get used to working out with a bunch of people and sharing equipment, and she was so funny because she's like, yeah, I was waiting for this one guy to get off a machine I needed. He did like 17 sets. Like, why do they need to do 17 sets? I'm like, well, it's something new for you. And she's a Virgo, by the way. So yeah, so it's quite interesting to listen to her talk about her new experience in the gym and having to get used to her new experience.
well, I know I recently actually been thinking a lot about this today because trying to make decisions and stuff. And when you're working with other people and asking them to look at life changes, there's a reason why you're asking them, because you're asking it's a mirror for you. This
Yeah,
has been a huge month of the mirror.
yeah,
Um, and so will October be. Mirror, mirror, and that, what comes forth? Am I willing to help myself when I ask somebody else to do something? Am I willing to do something equally as difficult or easy or whatever? So there's a big piece of that in this Libra balance and partnerships, because we're talking about Venus and we're talking about partnerships. So if I'm sitting working with somebody else saying, I need you to take a risk, there's probably a message in there for me about taking a risk. So
oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, Kitty, as usual, I always have fun when I chat with
we have a
you.
good time. We just do.
And yes, yes. And for those who will be watching this on the replay, I would love to hear your comments. So feel free to put those comments in on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, I have no idea how you can comment there, but if you do, just put a comment in. And those who are watching on Twitter, you can put comments there too. Let us know. And if you need to reach either of us, Kitty, let them know how they can reach you.
You can reach me at intuitionofthesoul11@gmail.com. You can also reach me on Facebook under Intuition of the Soul, or under Optimize Your Energy with the Moon and Stars, which is a course we offer to teach you how to use your chart. Not just a reading, to teach you not to be an astrologer, but how do I use my own chart? How do it as a mirror? How do I look at my energies?
Exactly. And by now, all of you know how to reach me. And if in case you don't, my email is healingwithin76@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook as well. And for those of you who are interested in coming and joining my private group, Expand Your Intuition, which takes place on Thursday nights at 9:30 p.m., the card spread goes up Wednesday or early Thursday morning. Feel free to come join that group. There's lots of fun things that go on there. So for that
I
information,
have a
just
feeling there'll be some more fun that we'll be coming up with in the next year.
yes, I think there's going to be a lot of fun coming up in 2023.
Yeah,
After
I
all,
do
it is
too.
a 7. It's a
Yep.
7 energy of just learning, 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 learning.
Yep, it is. And we move our north node out of our stabilization. We move it in, we move it then back into wanting to learn about the spark, wanting to step forward and start new things.
Now,
So
once the north and south node moves, it goes into, where's
it
it
will
go?
so it went from Gemini to Taurus, goes backwards to
Okay.
Aries.
Okay, so it's going to go into
Aries.
Aries and Libra.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That should be
So
quite interesting.
so we stabilize so we can start.
Yes. Yes. Excellent.
And
All right, guys.
it will be traveling with Jupiter again.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that should be a lot of fun.
yep. So I think those should be a lot of fun. This is a plane taking off.
Yes. And of course,
So
Kitty and I will keep you guys posted. We'll come back and play some more, share insight for those of you who are interested. Feel free to join us. All
please
right, guys.
do.
Enjoy and see you next time.
Namaste.
Namaste.